The Low Cost Effective Care Unit, LCCU, is on the edge of Vellore's Old Town slum. 7,000 people live here. More than 50,000 people live in slums around Vellore. The low-cost hospital's roots go back to 1902. It witnesses to the healing ministry of Christ by improving the health of the poor. Its aim is to provide accessible and effective health care at minimal cost. It is a hospital for the sick and the poor. No appointments are necessary. It's a walk-in clinic. More than 200 people a day come to the outpatient clinic, which overspills into the corridor. Here is one of the waiting rooms. Day begins with the nurses leading worship. Behind where they stand is the treatment room. Here are the wards. Many patients do not have beds or mattresses at home. They sleep on the floor. And at the hospital, they make themselves comfortable. This is Augustine, a social worker and a familiar figure since he too was born in the old town. Hospital workers wheel out the laundry to dry in the sun. Most patients bring their own food. But there is a small canteen. The monkeys are quick to take advantage. The hospital is served by 8 doctors. Dr. Sara Bhattacharjee was the director when we first became involved. Geoff was invited to run training sessions for these doctors in diabetes. LCCU is built on the historic site of Ida Scudder's first hospital. The Christian Medical College Hospital has many specialist departments right across the city, and patients from the low-cost hospital have easy and subsidised access to all these. No charge is made for seeing a consultant or for nursing care. Patients' circumstances are taken into account though, and a small contribution towards surgery and treatment costs may be sought. 75% of all healthcare in India is private. Illness can spell economic disaster for a whole family. Many borrow from moneylenders who charge high interest rates. So healthcare is a major cause of debt. CMC relieves this. Whilst we were there, a woman had a brain tumour, and she was immediately admitted from LCCU to the main hospital and operated on at no cost. But a patient in better circumstances needing surgery to his neck, costing £3,250, was asked to contribute £100. The old town is made up of cluttered areas of slum houses, all huddled together. There are many makeshift lean-tos made up of dried coconut palms with poles to hold up flimsy walls. though there are some concrete houses. It is easy to get lost in this incomprehensible system of lanes and concrete alleyways. The land is owned either by the temple or the council, Porumboku land. People live with the knowledge that it could be reclaimed any time, and this would be the end of their homes and their whole community life. Insecurity, poverty, and malnutrition create a sense of living on the edge of survival. Smoking bidis and alcohol misuse are very common, as are mental illness, domestic violence, and family breakdown. Many children are at risk. Homes have electricity, but hardly anyone has running water. 86% of people rely on a public tap. Temperatures soar into the mid-40s, and in the summer heat, water may only come for 1 hour every 15 days. Usually, though, it comes for 2 hours each week. There's great joy as the water splurges through the pipes, but understandably, it's also a flashpoint for fights when it dwindles. The general impression, though, is of gladness. Women with colourful plastic water pots and others squatting by the roadside to do their washing. Augustine and Suresh, the social workers, are familiar figures in the streets. And Dr. Sushil regularly visits his patients in their homes. To make medical care more accessible to the community, a small church building is used as a clinic twice a week. And recently a van's been donated to enable outreach clinics to go to the 5 other slums in Vellore. The Old Town people are extraordinarily hospitable, welcoming us into their homes, talking about family issues, drawing us into discussions, always offering us food and precious water. This man takes me home, where I discover the family preparing garlic to sell at the market. In this sorry sling is a small baby. The widowed mother has 8 other children, and she survives only because of the supportive care and the financial help given by her brother, Anine, a transvestite dancer. These are 4 of her other children. Most adults are educated only to the level of a 7-year-old. Work is largely physical labouring. They are daily wage earners. Many go to the vegetable market in the early hours, unloading trucks or preparing food to sell. You can just see the rats disappearing behind the blue post. Some men drive cycle rickshaws. It's back-breaking work. Others drive heavy ox carts. Taking sand from the riverbed for building is illegal, but the police are bribed and turn a blind eye. Poverty makes people desperate. Many roll incense sticks, make paper bags, boxes for matches, or roll beadies cigarettes. Men are paid the equivalent of 75p for rolling 1,000, and women are paid 5p for sticking on 1,000 labels. Some sell plastic buckets, pans, or deliver eggs. Men generally earn less than £1.50 a day, and women half of that. Very little to keep a family of 6 or 8 people. They live hand to mouth, buying small amounts of food when they have received their daily wages. The Tamil Nadu government subsidises some basic necessities. Last year, unpolished rice was sold for 1p a kilo. Now each family is offered 20 kilos a month free. Lentils and cooking oil are also subsidised. People have identity cards, the colour of which shows what they're entitled to. Corruption is notorious. At election times, political parties vie with each other, offering giveaways to attract votes. Some years ago, the ruling party gave every family in Tamil Nadu a television, cheap and obsolete. Perhaps you noticed the television in the home of the garlic workers. A government scheme offers 3 months' work to women who cannot find employment. This group cleans the dried up bed of a lake. They're paid £1 a day. But now more about the hospital. LCECU works closely with local people to educate them about health. But people with disabilities may not be able to get to the hospital. The auto rickshaw journey would probably cost more than a day's wage. Hospital staff thought these people might benefit from simple physiotherapy in their homes. So 12 Old Town volunteers did a survey. 80% of those with disabilities could be helped, and the volunteers themselves were then trained to do this. Mary, one of the volunteers, is here with her husband, talking to Augustine. In working here, we became increasingly aware of the problems with which people lived. The open sewers, which run in front of the homes, become blocked with rubbish and overflow. The homes do not have toilets. Particular areas of open space are designated for defecation purposes, men and women going at different times. A block of 8 toilets has been provided, but solely for men, since women are thought to not use them properly. Women and children are at risk because they still have to use the hillside. In the monsoon, excrement is washed down into the simple homes, causing illnesses. Food is prepared on the pavement. Typhoid has been endemic until recently, as have bowel infections causing diarrhea. Bowel infestations with worms are common. These contribute to malnutrition. This 3-month-old baby is the weight of a 3-week-old. The Old Town volunteers, in consultation with LCECU, invited a sanitation expert to come and speak to the people. He asked them to lead him to the place on the hillside where the women and children toileted. Surprisingly, taking with him a large bowl of cooked rice. He set it down on the earth. Within seconds, it was covered with swarms of flies from the excreta. It was easy to see that this was a major health hazard. This led to the first political action in the Old Town. The volunteers petitioned the council and campaigned for toilets. They were not successful, but it did lead to some proper sewers being installed. And encouraged, they realised they had a voice. Mary, in the blue sari, was one of the first volunteers. She is married to Amos, an untrained but committed pastor. They have 4 teenage children and they live with poverty. But Mary, knowing she would never be paid, has continued in her volunteer role for over 15 years, providing a strong link with the hospital. Amos, too, is deeply involved in community work. Discussions on faith and community development regularly take place in their home, a single room and a kitchen. Crowds gather round the door, everyone craning to listen and have their say. Suresh, one of the LCCU social workers, joins in. Some are defeated by their circumstances, but what stays with you primarily is a deep respect for the people's resilience, resourcefulness, the good humour which accompanies warm hospitality. Despite harsh conditions, there's a quiet joy and even peace. Everywhere, people make you welcome. I am reminded of Mother Teresa's words about the amazing generosity of the poor. Amos's house group grew too big for their small home. The people of faith needed a building where they could gather together, somewhere to call church. Numbers grew as people experienced the healing Christ. They grew in confidence as a faith community. There was no land to build on, but a Christian woman offered the rooftop of her home. The community saved to build 4 concrete walls and a tin roof. We have to go through her house and climb her stairs to the rooftop church. This same room houses a class of 50 children learning to read and write. The community recognises that the way out of poverty is through education. Even so, Children are often kept at home to care for younger ones, sick relatives, to do odd jobs, and to be present when the weekly supply of water is turned on. Many girls leave school early to look after children or sick relatives, and marriages at 14 or 15 often put paid to hopes of further education. LCCU wants to do more than simply treat disease. It is always developing new initiatives, taking a holistic approach to health and welfare. An opportunity came their way when a young man developed cancer. His friends asked, "How can a young man get cancer? We did the same things as he did. Will we get cancer?" A volunteer arranged for a discussion group in the hospital. 35 young men turned up, resulting in the development of a life skills education program. This was aimed at developing self-awareness, exploring interpersonal relationships, and healthy lifestyle. Career counselling was introduced. Eventually, the program was taken up, expanded, and introduced into 5 local schools. Classes also enabled women to get jobs. Today, there's a new craftwork project to help beady workers find alternative employment. Now, for 15 years in our short visits, Geoff has been examining ways of improving care for those with diabetes. A quarter of India's 1.3 billion people are likely to develop type 2 diabetes, incurring problems of heart disease, strokes, loss of sight, amputations. About 350 people with diabetes are seen at LCCU every week. As a result, they began diabetes classes where patients could gather together to learn and share experiences. Tilalami, a senior nurse, runs this group. The doctors requested teaching materials, and the vision grew to make a DVD, one that people could identify with and related to their circumstances. Patients with diabetes need to be vigilant. They have to think about it every time they eat. They need to understand the importance of diet and weight control. Exercise, medication, regular checkups are vital. A DVD was made, divided into 10-minute sections, each covering a different aspect of the disease to trigger discussion. And the storyline was of a man with diabetes. Augustine, the familiar social worker, volunteered to play the role of a coolie, working on the market, a daily wage earner, unloading trucks. Now, as the story unfolds, he develops diabetes, shares his concern with his friend Amos, and learns with medical help how to care for himself. In order for Geoff and me to understand the people's environment and the situations they faced, Augustine introduced us to patients with diabetes in the old town. Though given good advice by dietitians, it was salutary to learn how few ate a healthy diet. Though traditionally most were vegetarian, fruit and vegetables were thought to be unaffordable. Women formed a group to explore this. Rice was eaten in vast quantities, often flavoured with ricin, spicy water, or small quantities of thin samba made with lentils. We had a long discussion about income and budgets. Then we went to the market and priced the vegetables that were in season. The hospital dietitians worked out an affordable diet. We planned to start filming the DVD in the old town with local people taking part. They had to own this project. But nothing happens as you expect in India. It had been agreed before we left that we would film for 3 weeks. But when we contacted the filmmaker, Shaker, he informed us that he couldn't go ahead. It was an auspicious month for weddings. He needed to take those photographs. Shaker could only offer 1 single afternoon. Significant alarm bells rang. We had only a month in India to complete the film project. It was an answer to prayer when we met. Shaker listened and became more and more enthusiastic, committing himself to the project full-time for the next 3 weeks. From then onwards, he was a driving force. Together with his cameraman and sound technician, Shaker worked every day, sometimes starting at 6 a.m. and remaining at the hospital until late at night. It was a joy and an inspiration to work with him. The story unfolds. Augustine, the patient, has not been well. He comes to speak with Amos. He explains he's tired, thirsty, and always going to the toilet to pass urine. He's persuaded to go and see a doctor. Here we see Shaker beginning the early filming. We go with Mary to the morning market. She selects cheap, seasonal vegetables for a healthy diet. She takes them home and cooks a meal which neighbours are all invited to share, a demonstration of affordable meals for patients with diabetes. The film emphasises the need for exercise and medical care. Today, the DVD is used with diabetes education groups. It's also running on a loop in outpatient waiting areas in different hospitals across Tamil Nadu. It's now widely available. Since the dialogue is in Tamil, it would not mean a lot to you. But whilst it was being made, we took our chance to make a behind-the-scenes version. We hope you enjoy it.
part of this video has a doctor-patient interacting in it, and then at the end of that scene we say, okay, now let's review what we learned, and we have Meket's voice or someone's voice coming.
Or in pictures. So if it's diet, we'll have a picture of some diet.
Yeah.
Or if it is take care, we can have a picture of somebody really.
We could film someone doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Emphasize it with that and
Describe
thank the person.
or something like that.
Yes.
That's a fish market, the big fish market there.
Fish market. Down there.
Yeah, right, so to go right. Just go inside, you can see lots of fishes. I'd like to bring you notice that it's not very
Poor people.
Ah, yes. Okay.
and the car is finished.
like gold metal device red color lemon.
Okay. Do you mind me asking?
Helmet varanda.
How much did you say a potato was?
Chow is one piece, ma'am.
One piece.
One piece.
What?
Yeah.
Chow, one piece, how much?
5 rupees.
It's a lot of money.
Carrot 1 kilo, 150 rupees.
So that's about a day and a half's wage.
Adding the rice, make it piece. So the white sheet of it was at least a steam boil.
Steam.
Yeah, it's very important.
தமிழ் புரியாது
சப்போஸ் ப்ரொனன்சியேஷன் எதனா
சிங்காரா
அது இது இல்லைனால டூயல் தான். அண்ட் நீங்கள் ரெக்கார்டிங் பண்ணும்போது இதுலேயே சொல்லுவோம் extra light, available light we can shoot. That's the other thing. I want to ask. Otherwise, shoot something.
We go to one of the cafeterias, and we will set out a meal from a cafe and have a plate to take pictures of to show during the dietitian.
But the papa will work at that.
உள்ள வாங்க, உங்க மூஞ்சி தெரியல. இவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா
அவரு அசிஸ்டன்ட் சார் அந்த வீட்ல வந்துட்ட பிறகு அதுக்கப்புறம் அடுத்த ஸ்டார்ட் உள்ள இல்ல உள்ள இருந்து வெளியே வர மாதிரி சீக்கிரம் நீங்க வாங்க நீங்க சீக்கிரம்
போடா கை பிடிச்சிட்டு
மூஞ்சி தொடங்க சார்
What's making the noise? Is it? To unplug it.
Susha wants to get rid of it.
Shaker thinks it's okay.
சார் அடுத்த ஸ்டார்ட் என்னங்க
அடுத்து இவர் லேப் போய் திரும்பி லேப்ல இருந்து வர மாதிரி அடுத்த ஷாட் ஆரம்பிக்குது. அது நாங்க இப்ப ரிஹர்சல் பண்ணோம்.
சார் அப்படி மூவ் பண்ற கட் நான் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். நீங்க வந்து இவரோட
நீங்க எந்திரிச்சு வெளியே வாங்க அவர் கொஞ்சம்
நீங்க கேமரா திருப்பாதீங்க. நீங்க அங்கேயே நிறுத்திங்க கொஞ்சம் அப்படியே மேல பண்ணுங்க. இவர் என்ன பண்ணாரு அங்க இது பண்ணி இது வரலாம்.
We'll still do ACPC and then to start.
But later we're going to start him on metformin, aren't we?
Yeah.
So maybe we do need it higher. That's right. But still say we're going to go on and do the ACPC. But we truly have got the diagnosis already.
முடிச்சிடலாம். ரெடி பண்ணிடலாமா? அவங்க
ஆல்ரெடி
ஓ நீங்க சொல்லுங்க எனக்கு ரெடி சொல்லி நான் சும்மா வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு
சார்
நான் சும்மா வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். பண்ணிடலாமா? ரெடினா ரெடி சொல்லு.
சரி சார்.
அவ்வளோதான்.
So you asked, you are buying vegetables for your family. So you would buy the vegetables which are cheaper this day.
a church in Old Town Flood.
Vamos, sideways. Joy, yeah, just turn. Yeah, now you talk. We can see your face. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. சோறு போனால் போட்டு போகிறாங்க. இந்த சாப்பாடு அந்த சாப்பாடு எடுத்துட வேண்டியதான். என்ன இதே சாரி இதே ப்ளவுஸோட வரணும் கிடையாது.
Behind the screen, directly change is mood.
எனக்கு ஒன்றும் கிடையாது. My father-in-law's sister.
Yes, I've got it.
Is his mom.
Yes, got it.
Sister, அப்படியே வந்து வடிக்கிற மாதிரி நான்
Been shooting for 15 minutes. உங்க ஆயா வந்துச்சு. என்னம்மா ஓகேம்மா. சரி தேங்க் காட். மாவட்டம் போனல்ல உங்க அப்பா இருக்க ஊர் தானே, பாட்டி ஊர் தானே, சொந்த ஊர் தானே.
One second, sir. Good day, போடுமா.
முடிச்சலாமா சார்?
அவரே எடுக்கட்டும். குட்டி போமா தம்பி. ப்ளீஸ்மா வேண்டாம் நிக்காதீங்க.
Very sharp. Any other equipment? Mary? Can I see?
அவங்க அது பாக்குறாங்க.
Keep your leg. Very thin.
வரைந்தவர் உன்னுடன் இருக்கின்றார். உன்னை உள்ளம் கையில் வரைந்தவர் உன்னுடன் இருக்கின்றார். உன் கண்ணி
போதும். வெயிட் பண்ணு.
சாப்பாடுல ஊத்துட்டோங்களா?
நீ ஏத்தனா பரவாயில்ல, இவங்க இருக்க மாட்டாங்க. நீ அங்க போ. இல்ல அது மனசுல இல்ல சார், மனசுல வந்துருச்சுனாக்கா தண்ணி கேட்டாங்களா கொடுத்துட்டீங்களா? நல்லா
என்னோட ட்ரெஸ்ஸிங் கொஞ்சம் பாத்துக்கோங்க.
நீங்களே பாத்துக்கலாம்.
No. We started at page 2. Page 2 started, we want
But
to
no, here's something.
What time do you think we'll be through, Jeff?
நீங்க அடுத்த எந்த கேட்கணும்
This week.
சக்கரை நோய் இந்த மாதிரி செக்கப் வேற யாரையாச்சும்
அப்ப அந்த ஃபுட் அவங்க காட்டும்போது
we want to take to
போயிட்டே இருங்க நீங்க போயிடுமா போமா
அவளுக்கு சேர்த்து போய் மாதிரி ஏதாவது
இல்ல தண்ணி
அவருக்கு எங்க கஷ்டங்கிற மாதிரி இருக்குது கேட்டு பயமா தான் அது நடந்த மாதிரி
நடந்து வரும்போது நல்லா ஊத்தி விட்டுருங்க
இல்ல கண்ணு மூணு மாதிரி ஒண்ணே இல்ல இப்ப
சரி தண்ணி பர மாதிரி நிக்கிறீங்க.
அவர் 7 மணிக்கு வச்சார் மார்க்கெட்ல என்ன ஃபுல் தெரியுமா?
ஓ மூட்டை தூக்கி மேல
ரைட் ஓகே.
டயரை பார்த்தா அவன் வானவே வானான்னு சும்மா அப்படியே போங்க நேரத்துல அப்படியே போயினே இருங்க குறுக்க வரக்கூடாது போறவங்களா தான் போயிடுங்க
அப்பா போறப்பா அது படத்தை வரக்கூடாது.
ஒரு செகண்ட் நம்ம இது
நான் சொல்லும்போது வைக்கிறீங்க அப்படியே வைக்கிறீங்க. அதுக்கப்புறமேட்டு
இருங்க அப்படியே இருங்க இருங்க
வேகமாக தக்காளி கொஞ்சம் மெதுவாக மேலே அந்த மேலே கீழே
Right.
But he knows me very well. He'll come and grab hold of me. இல்லம்மா
விரல் எடுக்கிறது நல்லா தெரியும். கேட்குறது தெரியும். பாதம் சைடு அந்த பக்கம் கீழே தேவைப்பட்ட இன்னும் என்ன எடுத்துக்காங்க வேணும்னா மெதுவா அப்சர்வ் பல்லே தெரியலையா தம்பி எங்கே போகிறேன் போறியா போ
இதுதான் உண்மையான சிரிப்பு.
எத்தனை வருஷம் முன்னாடி இல்லை வருஷம் ஞாபகம் தான் எந்த வருஷம் மெதுவாடு ஒன்றும் அவசரம் மெதுவா
இருங்க கீழே வைக்காதீங்க அந்த பிளாஸ்டிக் இது வச்சுட்டு அதுக்கு மேலே வைங்க. ரைட்மா. ஸோ இல்லையம்மா உங்கள் காலுக்கு என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு எப்படி இது ஆயிடுச்சு?
போட்டால் 2 எடுத்தேன். இங்கே ஒன்று ரவுண்டு 3 பாட்டில் ஓடிதான் 10 பட்டு அது சாப்பிட்டு கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் எப்படி பண்ணாங்கன்னு தெரியல. இதில் ஒரு ஊசி போட்டாங்க. பையன் அவ்வளோதான் சின்னம்னா ஆயா ஆப்ரேஷன் ஆயிடுச்சு 1 மணிக்கு
ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் முடிச்சுட்டு அப்போ நீங்கள் அங்கே மகாராஷ்டிரா வந்தீங்க?
5 நாள் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்.
எத்தனை நாள் சிஎம்சியில் இருந்தீங்க? எத்தனை நாள் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்?
5 நாள் இருந்தோம். அந்த 10 நாள்
அடிப்படு அம்மா நினைச்சேன்லம்மா.
அது அத்தை கொடுத்தா எப்படி சொன்னேன்?
ரொம்ப கிட்ட சரி சும்மா ஒன்று எட்டுங்க. பத்திரம் ரொம்ப அடுத்த வரல வைங்க, நான் கட் பண்ணிடுறேன். அப்படியே இருக்கு.
ஐயா சோத்திரம் ஐயா சோத்திரம். அன்னைக்கு வந்தான்
ஆடு ஓடும்போது
மாத்திரை கொடுத்தாங்க பாரு.
முடிய நல்லா இருக்கு நல்லா இருக்கு.
ஒரு நட்சத்திரமா உள்ள
ஓகே
Unless we stand and sunlight continuously. You don't feel it. You don't feel it. So this is just nuts.